Greetings, Hallowmaniacs. It's Steph here, and we are today at the Goodwill, one of my favorite Goodwills in Wisconsin, and I'm hoping to snag some Halloween treasures. So let's see what we can find. Alright guys, I don't know why I said the Goodwill, it's just Goodwill. Nevertheless, I am so excited because this Goodwill had a ton of Halloween items. I was super happy to find this parachute pumpkin in the beginning. They also had some really great finds. This Elmo bucket right here for 99 cents. And generally, I can go ahead and come into this, a lot of the Goodwills, not only just this Goodwill in Wisconsin, but a lot of them will have very decent prices. I found this flashlight right here. That was unique, never seen that. And then lo and behold, I found another kind of parachute fella right there as well. They were priced at $3.99 each, which I feel is a very decent price. These are usually generally from the 80s, the 90s. The one that kind of had the different legs there, the smaller one actually in a year of 1995 on there. And then I found this this is kind of like a throwback from, it looked like vintage Halloween. This little black cat with a witch hat, kind of like a candle, something you could put a candle or a light in that would light it up. I thought that was a great find. Sometimes I find some of my best finds, I swear, when I fly in for work and I have limited space to take things home. That's just, I guess, how it works and how it goes. But this time I found some really great here. These were like vintage plushes, ghosts. They're from Hallmark, so they had a Hallmark stitch on the back. I couldn't find an exact year, but I noticed that whoever maybe donated them, there were smaller ones, medium ones, and a larger version that you'll see in the video. But I like them. I like their little squiggly tail right there. And yeah, what a great find. Not bad prices on it either. So if you're looking for vintage plushes, this was the place to go because they had a lot of them there. I love it. Kind of remind me of the TY, the Beanie Baby. They also had some really great vintage Halloween clothing. I found this jumper here. It was, I believe it had like the patchwork on it from the front, but then you can see the sizing, the price. I think it was $9.99. So that's kind of great. I'm always on the lookout for vintage Halloween sweaters or things like that, a throwback to the past. And also found a blow mold. So for $5.99, these are probably something, I think they're kind of the stackable pumpkins. You could probably find them more recently to have certain ones like this at Five and Below. They have it even at the Dollar Tree, different stackable pumpkins that you can find. So I don't think they're that old or that vintage, but a great find indeed. They also had some great gravestones. So if you're looking, I always am kind of mixed feelings on these because sometimes I think that with the styrofoam, it would be hard to have these outside. I know Joe and I, in years recently, when we have had for our own home decorating, it's been hard to. They sometimes blow over or they become unstaked out of the ground, so they can be a little bit harder in windier areas or, areas that are more prone to rain and different kind of weather effects. But, I think if you had an indoor haunt, something like that, for $2.99, those are not a bad price at all, even though they had different pricings for them. Going on, I saw a ton of different kind of orange and black, the traditional Halloween color outfits. So not everybody likes to dress up in a costume on Halloween or during that time. But, if you're looking for somebody that wants to kind of still go to a Halloween party, but maybe not dress up, but you want those traditional colors, they had it going on at this Goodwill. I also saw these great light post covers for $15.99. These would be great if you had a light post and you wanted to have kind of that spooky jack-o'-lantern feel to it. Those are not bad prices at all. They came in 2 parts. They also had a lot of different vintage and kind of more modern party plates and napkins and things like that. So these are all priced usually at 99 cents, so not a bad price at all. You'll see here in a little bit, I found one that was really great. It was kind of a throwback to Halloween 3. It had the trick-or-treaters on these napkins and yeah, just totally remind me of Halloween 3. So if you're a fan of that, you're going to want to check that out here in a minute. This was great, like a little spooky skull and kind of different kind of signage going on here. This one kind of reminds me of one that you'd see at the Dollar Tree, and that's one I'm always leery of if I go into a Goodwill and I know it's something from a previous item from the Dollar Tree. I want to make sure that it's kind of still stays at that same price. Sometimes you'll get places that will sometimes double the price on you, so always be aware of that as well. Here I found some more great styrofoam gravestones there. Some of them had light up features. This is a great little pet cove, I like to call it, with a spider. I remember when Binks was little, we tried to get her a little pumpkin one and she had none of it. Definitely try to get her own little space in bed. I thought it would be cute, but again, pets are different. Some of them will like it, some won't. But this is a great deal if you had one that would like it for brand new with the tag. So I'm not sure where it came from, but I thought it was a great steal. Here was kind of like, it reminded me of Leatherface or something from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but in a pumpkin form. Little tote bag with a little jack-o'-lantern face on it, and for $2.99, not a bad deal. You could definitely get some treats in that bag. Moving on, the store had a ton of different items. I loved it. When I go here, usually they'll have a whole section in the back that is dedicated to Halloween, but because we are near Halloween, they were able to have a lot of different other seasonal merchandise racks right up front with a lot of Halloween merchandise. I had noticed that since I've been going into I frequent them a lot, the Goodwills, when I go to work after work, and it just seems like a lot of times they're kind of holding back a little bit. So I noticed that for a while, so it must be for anticipating around this time of the season to where they would go ahead and put it on a seasonal display. Here we had inflatables. I loved this dish right here. This kind of had that vintage Halloween look to it. So the ghost, the witch, everything was just screaming 80s and 90s Halloween to me. Maybe it's even from the 2000s, but it just had that 90s childhood dinner plate and just the Halloween that I loved so much growing up. So I had to definitely take that for $1.99. They had also some great signage here. So you can get this for $3.99, still new in the box. Maybe it had a little wear with it, but still, I think it was a great deal for that price. Here was kind of something from Target. So you'll notice their Hide and Eek. That's their brand that they have. Ton of different pumpkins here. A lot of pastel pumpkins. So I noticed more purples, pinks, orange, orange alert there as well. Here's a great spider light up decoration. And this is something that I looked at that spider and I'm like, spiders can be so creepy in real life, but yet here they are in the Halloween form, and I think they're absolutely adorable. It's funny how that works out. But here I found some more great kind of throw pillows. They had witch hats, they had skull ones. So these were great if you were looking for something to kind of decorate your home decor in your bedroom and to kind of give that little Halloween vibe. But moving on, I saw even some more decor here out front. This would be great, especially if you had some of those tombstones from earlier for $9.99. Of course, you had like the little plastic metal gates that they had here for if you're doing a cemetery theme. That's something that I think of that you would want to use that for. But this is all great. I love this right here. Sometimes Goodwills are the best place to find new lights, and I found some of my best Halloween decor lights at Goodwill stores. They have a 4-foot spider web right here, and I was really hoping, because that green just caught my eye, but it's actually just a purple light. I think it's just a graphics on the box, but wouldn't that look cool if it had that green and purple? I was always hopeful. Here they had some great pillowcases with ghosts. They had some ones that you'll see here in the future a little bit with cats and different witch decor, but $2.99 for those. You can just throw those on over your existing pillows and give it that Halloween flair that you want to for the season. Five Nights at Freddy's right here. This is a great plush. If you are into that movie, it's kind of newer within the last few years, and I think there's actually a part 2 coming out later this year in December. But Five Nights at Freddy's is a pretty kind of spooky movie. Definitely, I know something that my nieces who are teenage years, they love it. But here was that napkin with the Halloween 3. I just was getting Season of the Witch vibes here with the trick-or-treaters kind of going up. The jack-o'-lanterns kind of like that sunset or moon in the back. I just felt like that was a perfect kind of throwback to Halloween 3 right there. And not a bad price at all. Here was a spooky doorbell. I think they got this. It's for price at $5.99, new in the package. Looks like it came from Big Lots some years ago. I tried to press the button, but I could not hear. It kind of sounded a little bit staticky, so whatever was going on, maybe the batteries were being worn out, or depending on how old it was, but it did not have any type of noise to it. It had a little bit of flickering in the lights. Moving on, I saw some great kind of more decor. This looked like a plastic kind of skull that you could put up on your wall. Again, the prices were very reasonable, and I was just having a good time just looking through. I know I couldn't take a lot home with me in this trip in particular, but again, it was nice to see Halloween was coming out in the thrift stores. Here was a drying mat, so if you had for your kitchen decor, if you wanted to kind of put that Halloween vibe in it, you had that as well. Going through, I saw a ton of different merch here at the bottom. Just they had a lot of scarecrows as well. And scarecrows are not always Halloween, it's more autumn and fall, but definitely you can put that out for Halloween as well. I love that wreath there. They had this great Empire bucket for 99 cents, and you can always tell you're looking at a good pumpkin bucket when it has a thicker strap, it's thicker plastic quality. I did see a name Wesley written on the back, and I assume that you could probably, with the right chemicals, maybe get that out. Looks like it was pretty faded as well, so maybe somebody already tried to get that out, but for those for 99 cents, not a bad price at all. Here are some more of those pillow covers. So they had the cat with the little bat wings, and I like that, the skeleton throwing up the peace sign right there. Not a bad price. Here they had like these really great and unique light covers for witch that were almost like an iridescent or fluorescent type of cover, old blow mold style. Yeah, I like those. Those were unique. I've not seen those before. I've seen those before where they have in the store. They have Frankenstein ones, the pumpkin ones. Those are traditional, but never seen witch ones like that. They also had like some different kind of melted popcorn skulls. Sometimes you'll see those in like pinks or blues, different colors like that. So those are great for a timestamp, usually around like the early 2000s. A great ceramic pumpkin, and I was just having a good time looking at everything. I love this right here. If you were kind of remind me, I think of like a melted wax, one of those scentsy warmers that you could go ahead and put the scented waxes in there and then kind of have it lit up. These were great. They had a set of 2, and I'll show you another one here later, and they're battery operated and they light up the eyes. And this one I don't think had batteries in on it, but they're priced at $5.99. The other one that I'll show you had $5.99 as is, but it did light up, and I'll show you that here in a moment. But this was a great little candy holder for, again, $5.99. Vintage, probably something from the 80s or 90s, but yeah, it just screamed vintage Halloween to me. Here was the other one that I was talking about that had the light up eyes, and again, it's battery operated. It said $5.99 as is, but it was still working. So as I kind of put it back and I was looking at it, it did have some kind of sensor to where it had the googly eyes with the different colors. So I thought that was a great find, especially if you're looking for something to decorate your outside on a budget. Here I found some different kind of pencils. It kind of reeked of probably early 2000s decorations on it. So I'm always looking for vintage Halloween, something from the 80s, 90s, early 2000s. I was intrigued by this pumpkin carving kit here. So I always thought, like, okay, going to a Goodwill, I see a lot of these, and you know, sometimes they can be priced at $1, $2, things like that. But recently, going into the Dollar Tree locally here, I've noticed that it's just you get the scooper now and one kind of cutting tool, to where I felt like before in years prior, you used to get more. It was more a couple tools. So I'm going to be paying attention because I really want to carve some pumpkins this year with Joe and have some different designs. And I feel like maybe I need to pay attention because there's more tool options at the Goodwill. So I like to say things maybe from the Dollar Tree of the past. So you might not get you may be still paying the same prices at the Dollar Tree that you would have before, but you may get more tools and different things like that. I moved my way back to the store, and here was a ton of like where I normally would pick up my Halloween items, and they still had a lot. So they had a ton in the front, but I felt like they still had a lot of great merchandise that we could look at as we go through on the back end here. They had some great kind of this and that. This was like a little plastic pumpkin that lit up here. So maybe you could put it on a window or something that you wanted to stick it to the fridge. Something like that. And then they also had some great vintage plush dolls. So I like this witch here for $1.99. Again, I couldn't really find an exact year on her, but she screamed a vintage with that string hair especially. They had some vintage bowls. I love this, the green one right here. I have a couple from different designs from years prior and kind of shopping at Goodwills. Usually you can find them from the 80s and 90s, and yeah, great candy buckets. But now I'll go ahead and show you what I ended up actually taking home with me. It's something that could actually fit in my bag before I went back home to Michigan. All right, guys, so we are back in the car, and I could hardly contain myself. I was so happy when I found this ginormous pumpkin little parachute fella here. Usually they made these in the 80s and the 90s. This one, I did flip them over to see in the tag, and I didn't see the exact year, but I'm guessing probably more the 90s without really doing a lot of research on it. But honestly, I love this guy. I was so excited. For $3.99, not a bad deal at all. I got my first little parachute fella at the Midland Antiques Festival. That was back earlier in the spring, and it was one that kind of had like a little, like the eyes here, it looked almost like a Batman. So that one I was super excited for. But then I also saw this right here. I mean, look at this one. He's so cute. He has his little legs here. And this one does have on the tag that it was from 1995. So again, they're both the same price, $3.99. Kind of almost looks like a little, look at this. It looks like a little spider pumpkin with the legs there, but he is cute. I mean, I love these. I think it's so great to find them in thrift stores when you can. Otherwise, you're like me and you're buying them at flea markets. So the last find was this adorable plate. It has that complete Halloween retro look to it. It was only $1.99. Not sure the brand name and everything, but I had to get it. It was so cute. Look at the design on it. I love something that has like that total vintage Halloween look to it. I've kind of gotten into, especially as we've gone to multitudes of Home Goods, TJ Maxx's this year. I've really got into collecting plates. I kind of maybe want to line them up on top of my kitchen, the shelves up there. So this one is going to fit in perfectly and kind of give it that vintage 90s look to it. So I'm going to do a little bit more research, see exactly when it came out, but I love it. This was a total success as far as kind of collecting some vintage, probably from the 80s and 90s Halloween here at Goodwill. So yeah, it was a great day thrifting. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. And so remember to not only stay thrifty, like that little pun right there, but to remember that we always on this channel, we like to stay spooky.
Trick or treat.